Coming up on News 11, New York Governor Kathy Hochul was denied participation in a Buffalo Pride Parade. We have an update on the Tennessee school shooting, and protests turn violent in France as a strike reaches day 10. These stories and more, News 11 starts right now. Welcome to News 11. I'm Andy Velez-Davis.
And I'm Chloe Kowalik.
Well, Chloe, we got a ton of stories this week, so we're just going to jump right in. The water level on Lake Erie near Dunkirk came close Saturday night to the highest level it hit since the December 23rd to the 25th blizzard. It hit 576.9 feet just before 11 p.m., according to Dunkirk Department of Public Works Director Randy Woodbury. The level peaked just above 578 feet on December 23rd. The city closed off Point Gratiot and the pier ahead of Saturday's storm. Woodbury mentioned that a big tree fell on Central Avenue near New York Avenue and that, quote, cleanup will take a few days, end quote. He did not report any other damage in the city. Woodbury also said that water was, quote, lapping up a foot or two below, end quote, the top of Memorial Park's lake wall, which is at 578 feet Saturday. It was right at the top during the December storm. A normal level for reading for the lake at Dunkirk is about 572.5 feet. That was measured at about noon Saturday before southwesterly winds really started to pick up. The same reading returned Sunday morning around 8 as the winds lessened and sunny skies set in.
On Tuesday, Crime Stoppers offered a $2,500 reward for any information in connection to a fatal shooting that took place at Club Marcella on February 12th. According to police, 3 people were shot during an argument inside the club, leaving 2 people injured and 1 man fatally wounded. The Erie County District Attorney's Office announced that a 17-year-old boy was arraigned on a gun and assault charge in connection to the fatal shooting. The 17-year-old is accused of bringing an illegal gun inside Club Marcella, which was allegedly used by Sharif McBroom, who was, quote, wanted regarding the homicide, end quote.
Family of the victim, Edward Kint, spoke on the parole using words such as devastation, outrage, and heartbreak. Kint is expected to be released on parole today. Kint pleaded guilty to second-degree murder after he raped and strangled Penny Brown on Mother's Day in 1999. Brown, a beloved midwife and mother of 2 daughters, had been jogging out in Pensy Trail in Salamanca with her 2 dogs when Kint attacked her. Kint was 15 years old when he was arrested. He's now 39, the same age Brown was when he killed her. He was previously denied parole multiple times and was sentenced 9 years to life, which had been the maximum sentence for someone under 16 years old who commits murder. Cattaraugus County legislator Lori Hunt sponsored resolution condemning the parole board for its decision. She said this news has reopened old wounds for the community. To have this happen here, it was very sad, Hunt said. It just seems surreal and it couldn't happen in this community and we're hoping this never does again, end quote.
Salamanca City's Central School District is currently working with the Seneca Nation to keep their Warriors mascot name. In November 2022, the New York State Education Department called for school districts across the state to eliminate Native American team names, logos, and/or imagery. However, Salamanca is hoping that their outreach to the Seneca Nation will give them an exception. According to Mark Beeler, the school superintendent, over 1/3 of the school's population is Native American. The Warrior name is important to Native American students, whose history has been erased from much of American history.
A new lawsuit is taking place in Buffalo. New York Attorney General Letitia James has filed a lawsuit against Buffalo landlord for allegedly failing to address lead-based paint hazards in numerous properties in East Buffalo. The landlord has questioned Farhad Razadi, a Razadi group. The company is owned by Razadi and his wife Shor Zadi. The couple has been cited for lead paint hazard violations at 47 of their 75 properties. According to the Attorney General's office, 16 children were diagnosed with lead poisoning while living at one of the properties. James' lawsuit would require Razadi Group to pay penalties and restitution to the affected families. The group will also be required to give up ill-gotten profits like rent, which totals around hundreds of thousands of dollars.
The Buffalo Airport has seen the highest percentage of cancellations out of any other airport in the country. 5.5% of flights were canceled in 2022. This is a large jump from the year prior, as only 1.43% of flights were canceled in 2021. These percentages are based on a study by Insure My Trip, which is based on data from the U.S. Department of Transportation. It is believed that poor weather conditions in November and December led to the cancellations. This includes the time the airport was closed for several days near Christmas during the Buffalo blizzard. Southwest Florida International Airport was second to Buffalo in flight cancellations at 5.47%.
After 80 years, the Bray Miller family says they've dropped the idea of rebuilding their longtime bowling center in the village of Hamburg. The structure had been demolished after the roof collapsed during the massive lake effect storm last November. Howard Bray Miller says the cost of rebuilding proved to be quite too much to take on, end quote. The vacant site on Buffalo Street where the bowling alley stood is now listed for $390,000.
One of the fastest rising country music artists is coming to the Erie County Fair this summer. Bailey Zimmerman will be performing August 15th, joined by country music duo Seaforth as his opening act. Tickets will go on sale June 9th at 10 a.m., and organizers said tickets purchased in advance for grandstand events will include admission to the fair on the day of the show. Zimmerman blew up the country music charts all of 2022 with songs such as Rock in a Hard Place, Fall in Love, and Where It Ends.
A ski resort in Ellicottville just announced there are $9 million upgrades that will be starting this summer. Holiday Valley is a family-owned resort that was established in 1957 by founders Nelson Pauly, John Fisher, and Bill Northup. The resort announced that it will be getting a new state-of-the-art high-speed six-pack chairlift that will replace the Mardi Gras high-speed quad that is there now. This will allow for people two additional people to be loaded on each chair during peak operating times. Other revisions include a 3-year renovation project in the Inn at the Holiday Valley, the purchase of new Piston Bully 600 snow groomer, continued investments into the snowmaking system, and renovations to John Harvard's at the Tamarack Club. Holiday Valley President and General Manager Dennis Eschbaugh said, quote, "It's wonderful and exciting to continue to grow Holiday Valley and offer more to our guests. Our mission is to create fun for every visitor, and out of mantra is quality first," end quote.
The Pride Center of Western New York and Evergreen Health have denied a request for New York Governor Kathy Hochul and her team to attend the Buffalo Pride Festival and Parade in June. The organizers pointed out that the governor's proposed budget redirects funding from a federal drug pricing program away from the community health organizations. For Evergreen Health, the impact of the proposed budget would be as high as $14 million. Chief Operating Officer Michael Lee says that, quote, "If you're advancing a policy that rips $14 million away and disproportionately impacts the LGBTQ community, why would you get to show up and take pictures with us and march in our parade? We have to hold politicians accountable, and we would have to take a line in the sand. And this is that line," end quote. A spokesperson for the governor said, quote, "Governor Hochul is a steadfast supporter of the LGBTQ+ community and has the record to back it up, using newly signed legislation and state funding to lift up LGBTQ+ individuals in every corner of the state," end quote. Several organizers across the state came out with statements supporting the rejection of the governor at the Pride celebrations. Evergreen Health have filed a lawsuit to prevent the New York State Department of Health from implementing carve-outs to its Medicaid pharmacy benefit. And when we come back, we'll have your national headlines, including an update on the Tennessee shootings. We'll be right back.
Did you know dragging chains can spark a wildfire?
Only you can prevent wildfires.
When I was in foster care, I never knew when I would have to move, so I always had my suitcase ready to go. Then one day, I was adopted. My new parents opened their hearts and home to me. My parents cook my favorite breakfast for me every morning. My parents take me on trips I never thought I would go on. They gave me a home and an even better reason to use that suitcase. My parents aren't perfect, but they're perfect for me.
A school shooting in Nashville, Tennessee on Monday left 7 people dead. It happened at a private Christian elementary school called Covenant. Police said the victims are 3 students and 3 adults. The other fatality is the shooter. She has been identified as 28-year-old Audrey Hale of Nashville, who was once a student at the school. Hale was armed with 2 assault rifles and a handgun. Police shot her to death. According to its website, the Covenant School is a ministry of Covenant Presbyterian Church. The police chief says the entry doors to the school were locked at the time of the incident. They are still investigating how the shooter was able to get in. No word yet on the possible motive. The 3 school children killed are identified as Evelyn Dickhaus, Halsey Scruggs, and William Kinney, all 9 years old. The adult victims are Cynthia Peak, Catherine Kuntz, and Mike Hill, all in their early 60s. The incident is the 19th school shooting at the school or university so far this year, in which at least 1 person was wounded, according to CNN tally.
One of the victims in Monday's school shooting in Nashville was a family friend of Tennessee's governor. Governor Bill Lee says Cynthia Peak was one of his wife's best friends. She was supposed to come to dinner at the Lee's home Monday evening. Lee released a video statement on Tuesday following the shooting at Covenant Presbyterian School, saying now is the time to grieve.
There will come a time to ask how a person could do this. There will come a time to discuss and debate policy. But this is not a time for hate or rage. That will not resolve or heal. Everyone is hurting, everyone. Remembering that as we grieve and walk together
In addition to the
will
Tennessee
be
First
the way
Lady's
we
best
honor
friend.
those who were lost. We can all agree on one thing, that every human life has great value. And we will act to prevent this from happening again.
In addition to the Tennessee First Lady's best friend, 5 other victims were killed in Monday's shooting, including 3 9-year-old children. The shooter, Audrey Hale, was killed by 2 Nashville police officers at the scene before she could claim more victims, leaving all 7 dead in all.
Firearms were the leading cause of death among children and adolescents in 2021 for the 2nd year in a row. That's according to CNN analysis of data from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Firearms first surpassed motor vehicle crashes as the leading cause of death for children in 2020. In 2021, more than 4,700 children between the ages of 1 to 19 died from firearms, up by 9% from the year before. In comparison, about 4,300 children died in car accidents in 2021.
At least 21 people are dead as western Mississippi deals with severe tornado damage. The massive storm system, affecting up to 30 million people, stretched from the lower Mississippi Valley to the lower Ohio Valley. At least 1 large tornado struck Rolling Fork and Silver City at about 8 p.m. Central Friday night. Multiple homes in the area are damaged, with 1 resident telling CNN that Rolling Fork has been obliterated. It comes after the Weather Service issued a tornado emergency, the highest level of a tornado warning for the area. The storms knocked out the power for more than 100,000 people across several states. They also produced a flash flooding threat as torrential rainfall is expected across a large swath of the U.S., stretching from Oklahoma to West Virginia. Nearly 19 million people were under flood watches across at least 8 states in the Mid-South and Central regions.
The National Transportation Safety Board is launching an investigation into an explosion at a candy factory. It happened Friday in West Reading, Pennsylvania, and killed 7 people. The NTSB called the incident the R.M. Palmer Company Chocolate Factory a natural gas explosion and fire. While the agency is now known for investigating transportation-related incidents, this still applies in this case. That's because a pipeline is considered a form of transportation, in this case transporting natural gas. 3 buildings at the site have been condemned.
The World Health Organization's vaccine experts say healthy kids and teens might not need another COVID-19 shot. That's if they're 6 months to 17 years old and considered low risk. The revised recommendations are from WHO's Strategic Advisory Group of Experts on Immunization. The group says that countries can consider factors like disease burden and cost when deciding whether to suggest doses for that population. With Omicron subdued, it also says families should catch up on routine childhood vaccinations. The group warns it could revise its recommendations again if transmission rates change. The group is also recommending additional boosters for high-risk populations who haven't gotten one in 6 months to a year. Those include people who are older, immunocompromised, frontline health workers, or pregnant. Now when we come back, Ethan Smith will join us for sports, and Hunter Halterman joins us for this week's weather update. We'll be right back.
To Sofia and Gabriel, mis flores, my little flowers. Even though these old knees can't follow on your adventure to the forest today, these flowers represent my love, so you can take me with you wherever you go, near or far. These stitches and threads join us together. Me, your mother, and both of you. And wherever you see a flower, a bird, a beautiful tree, know that my love is with you as you bring our colorful stories to the world.
Make the forest part of your story at a park near you. Find one at discovertheforest.org.
There was an old woman who lived in a shoe. She had so many children, she didn't know what to do. She gave them some broth without any bread and kissed them all soundly and put them to bed. Hunger is a story we can end. End it at feedingamerica.org.
We're now joined by Ethan Smith. What's new in sports this week, Ethan?
In local Fredonia sports, the Fredonia State women's lacrosse team dropped their first SUNY AC matchup this season against SUNY Oneonta on Saturday with a final score of 17-6. The Devils started the matchup slowly, with the Dragons scoring 3 goals within the first 5 minutes of the game. With wind and rain conditions worsening throughout the game, Fredonia State kept pushing back, drawing 9 fouls and obtaining 5 free position shots, with Aaron Woods winning a pair of goals to close out the first quarter. Oneonta would not slow down on offense, putting up 21 total shots in the first half and scoring 10 goals. Aaron Woods was the lone goal scorer for Fredonia in the second quarter, completing her hat trick before the half. Woods also reached the 100-point plateau for her career during the game. In Buffalo sports, the Buffalo Sabres now sit 5 points out of the playoff race after losing to the Montreal Canadiens 4-3 in a shootout Monday night. Both Riley Stillman and Lucas Ruzek scored their first NHL goals in the game, with J.J. Peterka being the other goal scorer for the Sabres. The Sabres now have just 9 games left in the season, so points are limited if they do, in fact, want to get the last wildcard spot. And lastly, the final four for the NCAA men's basketball tournament is officially set and kicks off this weekend. The 4 teams include 9th seed Florida Atlantic, the 5th seeds Miami and San Diego State, and the 4th seed UConn. This is the first time no 1st, 2nd, or 3rd seed has ever made the Final Four since 1979. Fun fact, 6 people out of the millions correctly picked this Final Four based on the NCAA official bracket competition.
That is so interesting. I feel like I'd be terrible at picking, like, who would win, like, these games.
Interestingly enough, some people just pick it by the mascot. Like,
yeah.
if a Buckeye fought a Coyote, who would win?
Who would win in a fight? I feel like I don't know enough about basketball, so I would just be like, which team has the better uniform?
Right.
That's
yeah,
my pick.
That's the common theme too.
Yeah. Feel good, look good, and do good.
Play good.
You know. Yeah.
That's all
exactly. Yeah. All right. Well, we're now going to toss it over to Hunter for our first forecast of the night. Hunter, what do you have for us?
Hello, Fredonia, and welcome to a pretty wacky weather report. Over the next few days, our weather is going to be all over the place, so let's just get right into it. We can expect to see some pretty cold temperatures tonight, getting down to as low as 25 degrees. Our skies will also be quite cloudy tonight, carrying over to tomorrow morning. The temperatures don't get too much better either, continuing with that chilly, windy feel tomorrow night. Tomorrow night will look almost exactly the same as tonight, with cloudy skies and cold temperatures. Those of you at home might be thinking, hey, when is our spring weather going to get better? And for those of you thinking that, you might want to just look at our weekend weather coming up here soon, but that is all for today and tomorrow, so I'm going to pass it right back to the hosts.
And when we come back, we'll have your international headlines. We'll be right back.
This one's for the real ballers and shot callers, the Sisterhood of Women in Tech. They're discovering cures, building apps, and programming the blockchain. They're CEOs, worldwide hustlers who can make it rain. They're tearing down the old boys club and seeing big gains. Because when women in tech come together, you know they make that change.
Every day,
millions of people are connecting.
And even though we're overcoming obstacles,
watching each other's backs,
and banding together.
we should still make an effort
We should still make an effort.
to get to know each other.
On a deeper level. Father.
Cosplayer,
Mentor.
actor.
It's time we take a step forward.
It's time we take a step forward. Come together
and discover
how accepting our differences
can make us stronger.
How prepared is your family if a hurricane shows up at your doorstep, or a flood, or a blizzard? You can't just turn away a natural disaster. That's why it's important to go to ready.gov/plan now. It has the tools and tips you need to make an emergency plan with your family. So if disaster comes knocking,
let's go.
You'll be ready to help keep your family safe.
It's just a pizza.
Yes. Make a plan today.
North Korea's leader, Kim Jong-un, is calling to expand the production of weapons-grade nuclear materials. According to state media, this is in order to increase the country's nuclear arsenal. According to state media KCNA, Kim oversaw the mounting of nuclear warheads and ballistic missiles on Monday. South Korea's Joint Chiefs of Staff say that they are evaluating whether the warheads would, quote, actually work. Kim Jong-un had made a similar order in 2022 to increase the country's arsenal.
The French government is warning of a, quote, high risk to public order as protests by French unions enter their 10th day. They continue to reject a reform law which raises the pension age from 62 years to 64 years. Authorities say around 13,000 police officers will be deployed across the country Tuesday amid the ongoing protests. They also expect other means of public transportation, including air travel, to be disrupted. The Louvre Museum closed Monday because of the strikes. Strikers have closed the world-famous Louvre Museum in the center of Paris, statement according to a union statement. CGT says its members, quote, are taking part in this action with the striking of the Louvre staff, end quote, to demand the withdrawal of the French pension reform.
At least 38 people were killed as a fire broke out at a migration center along the U.S.-Mexico border, according to officials. Authorities on Tuesday believe the fire was caused by a protest initiated by some of the migrants detained at the center after we think they found out they'd be deported, end quote. Mexican President Andrés Manuel López Obrador said, based on initial reports, migrants put small mattresses at the door of the shelter and set them on fire, quote, as the form of protest, end quote. López Obrador said at a news conference Tuesday morning. They didn't imagine this would cause this misfortune, end quote. Anthony Gonzalez, a Venezuelan migrant who was held at the facility last week after U.S. authorities sent him back to Mexico, told Noticias Telemundo he finds it hard to believe migrants could have started the fire because they are held behind padlocked doors and, quote, they take everything from you before entering, end quote. The fire began after 9 p.m. Monday at the migration center run by the National Migration Institute in Ciudad Juarez, the agency said in a statement. The migrants at the facility had been detained by authorities. The country's National Migration Institute lowered the death toll on Tuesday evening from 40 to 38 following visits to the hospital across the city where victims had been taken and releasing the names of fatal victims. The institute did not immediately reveal the cause of the fire. It said that it, quote, strongly rejects the acts that led to this tragedy, end quote, without elaborating on what they may have been. And after a short break, we'll be back with your trending stories and one last look at the weekend weather. We'll be right back.
Most of my family, they never graduated high school or even let alone go to college, so I'm trying to break that barrier. Every day after work, went straight to school, studied hard, and it paid off. I could not have done it alone. I see the future is really bright for me. The high school diploma is just added to the confidence, and now I feel unstoppable.
Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org.
Actor Jonathan Majors is facing domestic assault charges. New York State police arrested Majors Saturday after an alleged domestic dispute. Charges include strangulation, assault, and harassment. Police said that a 30-year-old woman informed officers she was assaulted. Investigators say the woman had minor injuries to her head and neck. A spokesperson for Majors denied any wrongdoing by the actor, who has recently starred in Creed 3 and Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. After his arrest, the U.S. Army pulled recruiting advertisements featuring Majors off of the air. In a statement, the Army said, quote, "While Mr. Majors is innocent until proven guilty, prudence dictates that we will pull our ads until the investigation into these allegations is complete," end quote.
Jay-Z may have 99 problems, but money ain't one. Forbes magazine is reporting the rapper and businessman is now worth, get ready for it, $2.5 billion. That's a pretty big jump from when Jay first joined the 3 Comma Club in 2019. So how did the 53-year-old more than double his worth in just 3 years? It's not exactly clear, but we do know that Jay got about $750 million when a Bacardi bought a majority stake in his Douce cognac brand after legal dispute. We also know that in 2019, Forbes estimated his Armand de Brignacki champagne brand was worth more than $300 million, and his stake in Uber was worth about $70 million back then. Let's also not forget Jay-Z wife Beyonce isn't exactly a slouch herself, so we can only imagine that the couple's dual income looks like.
Get ready for some more drama, especially if you love the Kardashians. The Kardashians Season 3 trailer is out, and it hints that the family may be trying to manage its legacy. The trailer shows family members questioning where their loyalties lie and what they are doing with their power and influence. At one point in the clip, Khloe Kardashian foreshadows some turbulence when she says she wishes she could say it was going to be a mild, relaxing, and serene season. Season 3 of The Kardashians will start streaming on Hulu on May 25th. All right, that's a lot of money that Jay-Z's worth.
Yeah, I don't know how people can put prices on like themselves. Like even like I'm like, oh my god, like how much would I even be worth right now? Because I know it's like not a lot of money.
Yeah, the steak and Bacardi definitely helps. It's like the biggest like rum brand like right now.
Yeah.
So like that's.
I personally don't like Bacardi. And then it's like
yeah,
you know.
I'm not 21. I've never had it. I wouldn't know. But yeah. So, all right. Anyways, we are now going to toss it over to Hunter, who has our weekend weather update. Hunter, what do you have?
Jumping right into your weekend weather, Friday's temperatures are going to get quite warmer, reaching up to over 55 degrees. This comes at the cost of having good weather, though, as you can kind of expect it to be a pretty dull and dreary all day and all night long. This carries over to Saturday, where it's going to be even warmer with a high of almost 60 degrees. And once again, those warmer temperatures come with worse weather. There will be stronger winds and nearly 55 miles an hour. We'll see heavy thunderstorm slamming in the afternoon and more scattered showers throughout the day. Saturday night, we'll see the return of those chilly temperatures. That brings us to Sunday, where it will be cooler, but our weather will get better. Although it's going to be a little colder than Friday and Saturday, I recommend keeping your weekend activities for Sunday because our sun is going to be coming back out and sticking around for much longer. And last but not least, Sunday night is going to be a little chilly and a little cloudy. That wraps it up for your weekend weather, so I'll pass it right on back to your hosts.
Thank you, Hunter. Well, that does it for this week's episode of News 11. Thank you to our entire behind-the-scenes crew.
And thank you, as always, to everyone watching at home. Have a great night, Fredonia.